Sales team versus the world. New leads envisions a universe in which Andy Bernard thinks he can wrestle a pin away from Daryl, and then kiss his girlfriend in a dump.
Yeah, kiss her. Kiss her good.
The MacGuffin of this one is
leads.
Leads.
Leads. Leads. Leads. Leads. Leads.
Leads. Leads.
Leads.
Leads. Leads. Leads.
Leads.
Leads.
Leads.
Leads. Leads.
Leads.
Leads.
Leads.
Leads.
Leads. Leads. Where are they?
Leads. Leads.
Leads. Turn the trash. Turn the trash.
I counted 32 times, not sure if that's what the final output is. We've got a ton to talk about though, an allegory for the deeper meaning, some behind the scenes stuff that I thought was really interesting, and we'll talk about a sequence which is hot garbage. Oh, and I reached out to Brent Forrester, the writer and director of this one, with my idea for the deeper meaning, so we're gonna get to hear what he has to say about this episode. New year, new leads, let's do this.
If you want to find your leads, go to the man who never breathes. Kevin. Damn it.
Warning! Warning! Warning!
I understand nothing.
Sometimes episodes are so big and there's so much stuff to talk about that I just have to go through them sequentially. And this one is a good example of that. So first up, I have next to no memory of this cold opening.
That's Johnny Depp
Where'd you take that?
in my condo complex.
Like, I really don't remember Michael saying screw you at all. That was kind of jarring.
Okay. You, Halpert.
Nonetheless, watching Jim and Michael mess around, it's great.
Captain Jack Sparrow, Jim.
John Dillinger.
No, I'm Captain Jack Sparrow.
Captain Crunch.
Then we move to this conference room meeting, and we get the sense that the dock crew knows more about something than they're letting on.
The lost and found has gone missing. It itself is lost, so please try not to lose anything until we find it.
And if you're listening here, there's a great bit.
Pet day. If you don't have a pet,
When
please
are
don't
we
feel like...
getting to sales topics?
In Andy Green's book, there's a great quote about how Greg Daniels wrote an episode for season 1 called Pet Day, in which everyone would have brought their pets into the office. And apparently Michael had a parrot named Jim Carrey, which would have made the Finger Lakes guy showing up later a little awkward.
I'm supposed to be in the Finger Lakes right now. I told him I was on a hike, snuck away to do this interview. People disappear in the Finger Lakes.
Jim Carrey just walked in. Dwight, get his autograph from Michael.
Jim Carrey did not just walk in, okay?
The Pet Day episode was never shot.
Pet Day. I want Pet Day back. No dogs.
But they kept the script as a break the glass episode in case of emergency. I do wonder if that script is like out there somewhere. I can't imagine what a season 1 Michael-based Pet Day scenario would be like.
Meredith had a little lamb. Don't bring that lamb to work or it'll poop on the floor.
The whole shtick here is that part of Saber's takeover plan is that they prioritize the sales department in these branches.
Sales?
And it does somewhat make sense to incentivize sales staff to perform better, and it brings in more revenue, and then everyone gets to high five and move on. Even though every time I watch this, I'm reminded of how many times my work life has changed because some corporate mandate was released and trickled down, and they never really considered how many downstream consequences, or like what downstream consequences might be. Like in this case, the consequence here is that our normal sales staff that we love all seem to acquire situational narcissism.
I am sick of your uppity attitude, Jim.
But moving on, Michael's phone call with Gabe is great. I think that this would make for a good office out of context kind of thing.
In the summertime, everyone would go around killing people for the pleasure of an ice cream cone.
And then Michael's line here is one of my favorite Michaelisms of the entire series.
You are required to hand out those leads, Michael.
If that is what I am required to do, I will do exactly that.
Okay, good.
Exactly that.
Good.
Exactly that.
Why do you keep repeating?
He decides to do the sitcom trope then of teaching everyone a lesson, and then calamity ensues.
Hey! Wait! Wait!
Culminating in what may be the poorest green screen work of the entire series. I'm hoping to get more time with David Rogers at some point so I can understand this more, and I did ask Brent Forrester about it, which we'll get to in a little bit. But my brother worked in special effects for television for a little while, and listening to his insane stories about, timelines meeting the hubris of directors, expecting perfect renderings of their vision, was a highlight of my life for a little while. And special effects like this are like bad improv or bad a cappella music.
You know I can move my hair.
The lighting suggests the sun is coming from this angle, and yet the shadows on the box suggest something else.
What? Are there two suns?
Come on.
Last I checked, that's not an office building in the Andromeda Galaxy.
Shut up about the sun!
Also, both guys have this blur effect going on to, I think, try to desaturate the green screen spillover effect. It's crazy how important lighting is and how adept our brains are at figuring out that something isn't real.
Oh, come on, it's not real, Stanley. Don't have a heart attack. No.
Even if we can't put our finger on exactly what it is. And it's not totally all bad here, though. I mean, unless they're actually standing in front of a rear projected screen, which I now know they're not, so it makes these tracking shots pretty smooth. That's a pretty hard effect to pull off. And look, I'm not trying to give anyone too much guff here. I get how hard these things can be.
That's what she said.
But this is definitely up there with some of the really bad green screening effects in The Office.
Oh, he'll be fine. I made it up there.
Here's an attaboy for you. What?
We all take ourselves too seriously. In the moment, we think everybody's watching us and judging us, but in reality, nobody gives a damn what you do. They're all too caught up in their own bullshit.
5 rooms and I get to clean them all. That's right. I'm a maid for an old lady.
And you know, I saw that this house was like right behind the street where the studio is in Van Nuys. It is.
Oh, my life!
Oh, and for fun, let's put them on the moon. Or how about in front of the old lady's house in Tallahassee?
Gonna put the ass in Tallahassee.
So while Dwight and Michael are having their garbage match,
Time out. Time in. No! That's my pool! Here we go. Oh, God!
Jim and the sales staff are trying to make things nice.
Pam texted back saying we could give them all iPods.
If they don't have an iPod by now, they really don't want one.
And then we get this sequence, and it's amazing.
Warmer. 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 Hot. Hotter. Burning hot.
Me too.
Every step of Erin and Andy's relationship is like red flags galore.
I'm doing it for the preservation of nautical flag signaling.
And I can't quite tell how serious the writers were at trying to make us actually care about this will they, won't they.
Are you sure?
I mean, their first kiss is in a dump, and it has to be foreshadowing, right? I mean, at least the shading here looks better at sunset than it did for the guys earlier in the day. But with that, let's dive into the deeper meaning.
What does a bean mean?
Someone please explain it to Kevin.
Okay, so without going down a huge rabbit hole, I'm pretty sure that this episode is an allegory for the Marxist criticism of capitalism. Karl Marx, a German philosopher with a gnarly beard, grew up in the 1800s and really watched the Industrial Revolution take hold in his life.
Eli Whitney.
And the things that he witnessed definitely helped him conclude some things about human nature and also the nature of capitalism.
We have better service than they do.
And so the Marxist criticism of capitalism kind of centers in on the classism that's inherently comes along with it. And there's a lot of classes, but the two main ones that are talked about is, and I will butcher this because I'm from a cornfield in Illinois, and I'm gonna say it the way that I was taught in that cornfield. It's the bourgeoisie, but I'm pretty sure it's bourgeois. I'm not really sure. Anyway, it's the rich folk, right? The people who are able to create their own wealth, like for themselves.
More ale.
And then you have the proletariat, who is kind of the working class, who instead of being able to create their own wealth, they sell their labor to sustain a lifestyle.
They determine our worth by putting beans on our faces.
What does a bean mean?
Someone please explain it to Kevin.
And the labor they sell ends up making Richie rich richer.
My grandfather taught me how to find communists.
Marx and the Marxist thinking in general would argue that this system is really fragile because of the interdependency of these classes. The rich rely on the working class to generate more wealth for themselves, and the working class rely on those jobs to sustain a quality life for them and their families. Problems then arise because humans all suck. The rich become entitled, cold, and untouched by common struggles of the proletariat. The proletariat, on the other hand, recognize their own value, but are trapped by this wage slavery. This is where the concept of socialism is birthed from, right? that our value as human beings shouldn't be tied to what we can contribute to a company, and instead wealth should be owned by a society in general, ensuring that everyone has what they need to sustain a quality life. A common theory then evolving from Marx's work is the proletariat revolution, which supposes that eventually all capitalist societies whose proletariat are exploited by the rich will eventually revolt, and they will turn that economic system upside down, killing the economy, or they'll revolt by literally killing the rich.
Michael, I don't want to incentivize murder.
Both, incidentally, make life empirically worse for both parties. These revolutions would be triggered by the rich people crossing some line.
Oh, finally, Michael. Hand him over, numbnuts.
It seems that all philosophies across all cultures and time have to account for human nature. We tend to be greedy and selfish and exploit others around us. There is no perfect system to organize our societies because we are not perfect.
Where are the leads? Give me the leads! I'm still enjoying it. Where are they?
The message then of this episode is that even in the depths of filth and despair, if we could stop blaming each other for our problems, move on, truck forward, there's always hope for mankind, faults and all.
Hope grows
In a dump.
I learned all of that Marxist stuff in 9th grade having to read that Animal Farm book. Could have just learned it from this episode. So I thought all this was pretty interesting, so I reached out to Brent Forrester with my thesis statement, and to my surprise, he responded almost immediately. Literally one of the coolest episodes I've done so far, but here's the snippet he had to say about new leads and the deeper meaning I proposed.
New leads in particular, you'll notice that I just don't think it's that great an episode. I wrote and directed it, so it's all on me, but your insights into it are probably more interesting than the episode.
I went back and I was like, am I reading something that's not here with Brent's episode with new leads? I kind of looked back at all of my analysis of your past episodes, and I hadn't even put it together yet. But, you've got the merger, which I think in that field guide, I said, this is commentary on desegregation, which is these two different opposing sides that are being forced together by outside of their own control, even in ways that maybe doesn't make sense.
Cool, I like that. That. That's cool.
So one of the things I was tracking for you was that you'd like to explore the nuance of these discrepancies between relationships of things. You like to kind of expand and pick apart how things can be really complex. I got to this and I was like, man, is this all just commentary on capitalism and kind of a play on the Marxist theory, right, of these two different classes? Mm-hmm. So question, is it?
Well, I think it's really interesting and astute. I think your read on all of those writers has a lot of truth to it. And, you may be reading things that the writer does not know about herself or himself. And, I noticed in your analysis of my writing that I did not consciously intend the themes that you are identifying, but they are themes that are part of my upbringing for sure. So the influences to me as a human being were the 1970s. That's when I was a kid. That made a lot of impression on me. It was anti-materialistic. It was definitely a culture of anti-authoritarianism. Also, I came from the surf culture, which was itself anti-materialistic and anti-corporate. So yeah, those lefty values are coming through a bit. The episode that I was most proud of at The Simpsons was Lemon of Troy, which was Springfield versus Shelbyville. So those kind of team versus team, culture versus culture is maybe echoed in the merger a little bit as well. The thing that I notice in new leads, the parts that I like, there seems to be an attempt to get some games going between the actors, like when Andy and Ellie Kemper are doing hot or colder. To me, I kind of enjoyed that. Like I could feel, the playfulness has returned to this episode. The thing that I was really struggling with is the first 7-8 minutes. It feels ponderous to me. It feels like it's too intellectual, and I feel entirely to blame for this. I think that I think that they gave me a writer-director thing. That's when you're really supposed to shine. And in fact, I simultaneously was doing a pilot for Ron Howard, and I think I managed to kind of make both of them like, half as good as they should have been. That's my read.
So one of the lines that I think has become iconic for the series is in this episode, though. It's tucked away when Michael's talking about how, I'm going to butcher the actual quote, but he says,
Make friends first, make sales second, make love third, in no particular order.
I love that line, and for me, that's one of these iconic Michaelisms where it's like deep, but in that office way, it's just silly. New Leads is not like anybody's favorite episode. I don't think.
I think it's a bit of a failure, man. When I was watching it, it's hard to tell why. It has a lot of good conflict. It has stakes, etc. But I'll tell you one thing, man. The freaking CGI job of the garbage dump is so bad, and I have to say, I was the director, so it's all on me. But honestly, it was CGI was new, and what they showed us, they just bamboozled us, and it was a major crisis. Like, as I recall, the CGI company had to pay to have the episode unlocked and redone. So it was worse before whatever you're seeing now. It's comical.
My head narrative of how that episode probably came to be was that it was written to go to the dump, but then timelines probably got a little bit more crunched than what was originally expected.
Yeah, and Chris, the actors really did not want to go to a dump. And we visited a dump, and at first I was kind of like, oh, these white gloved actors can't handle the work. No, these actors are hardcore. They'll do anything. But they were right. Like, the dump was so gnarly. It just felt really unhealthy to be there. It smelled and was just so we thought, well, we can do this. We can do it on a soundstage, and we were just dazzled by the presentation that the CGI company put on. And I guess that was state of the art at the time, but it looks like what it is. It's a sound stage with some garbage and then like a background. And the two just have a distinct line. So terrible. Oh my God.
All right, I'll post that entire interview for everyone to see. And we talked about a whole lot of other stuff in that interview. I'm going to post that within a week or so. Also, if you're interested in creative writing, or I guess specifically comedy writing, check out his content. Links in the description. But with that, let's rate this thing.
This is the worst.
Okay, the cold opening. Like I said, I don't remember this at all, and I had to look it up and everything and ask the Discord because I don't remember it. And I mean, I'm kind of tempted to love it all the more because it feels like I found some secret new cold opening. Like, I'm also trying to remember the last time I remember a Michael and Jim centric cold opening, and all I could think of was this.
Is that,
You find it?
I didn't. I'll look somewhere else.
Would you like fries with that? Please drive around.
Anyway, I guess stacked against all cold openings ever, this isn't gonna be the best. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5.
The name on his mailbox was M. Schulman.
M. Night Shyamalan?
As for the episode itself, overall, it steps up to the plate and it gets a base hit. Like, nothing fancy, it just gets the job done. There's enough humor stuffed into it that it reminds us that office fillers are awesome.
Turn the trash! Turn the trash!
It's code.
All right, Meredith, take off your dress.
Okie dokie.
No, dear God, no, it's in the trash can.
I enjoyed analyzing the deeper meaning on this one, but like I said, some things just felt off. I think the Erin and Andy stuff just really feels like it slows everything down because there is no emotional engagement here at all. I do think Brent Forrester was being a little tough on himself, but I am going to give this one a 2 out of 5.
Yeah, I basically wish you were dead.
There is enough to love here to make it qualify for a great filler episode, but stacked against everything else, it's on the lower end. But that's all I have to say about New Leads. Join me next week. We're going to talk about Date Mike and how that's an allegory for post-Bush era foreign policy. I don't know. I'm just kidding. It might. I don't know. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.